When you're stopped at the roadside, miles from home, you don't need more tools, you need the right tools. This video is about the tools you actually need for the Voge DS625X, built directly from the owner's manual, not guesswork and not overpacking. Rather than guessing what tools I might need, I actually went through the owner's manual for the DS625X, and I put together a list of tools that are commonly used across different fasteners and different nuts and bolts. This set of spanners will cover most nuts and bolts you may encounter at a roadside fix. There's a 10mm, a 12mm, and a 14mm. The 14mm is probably the most useful, and it's what you'll use to adjust your chain on the road. So this is really crucial to have. The 12mm is also useful and fits on things like brake calipers and brake lines, and a few other nuts and bolts around the bike. Not too many, but super useful to have. The 10mm I'm taking just as a precaution. There aren't actually that many nuts and bolts on the bike that are 10mm in size. Well, the ones that are on the bike, if I need to adjust these, there's probably a bigger problem than I can fix at the roadside. I'm also taking a selection of Torx keys. Now the DS625X uses this type of fastener far more than it does traditional nuts and bolts. If you're unlucky enough to break a footrest hanger, you'll need one of these. If you need to remove a body panel, it's going to be one of these. And guess what? Even if you need to take your screen off, yep, you need a Torx key. So if you have a tumble and need to repair something or swap something out of the roadside, it's vital you carry some of these Torx keys. As a reminder, I'll put all the sizes that I'm carrying in the description of this video below. The DS625X uses a 27mm nut on the back to tighten and loosen the rear wheel spindle. So in my toolkit I'm taking one of those and a single ratchet that will enable me to loosen and tighten this nut up. It's worth noting that if you're struggling to undo this with a small ratchet, you can do what I'm doing here and use a spanner to give you a little bit more extra leverage for when you're loosening and also when you're tightening this rear wheel nut. Also in the toolkit, I'll be taking an adjustable spanner, super handy to have just in case there's that odd nut you don't have the size for, a set of pliers, we all know how useful these can be, a screwdriver with multiple heads that can go on, and of course zip ties. Where would we be without zip ties? That staple of roadside repairs. Now all of these tools are going to go in a really cheap bag that I bought some time ago off Temu, the place I love to buy all my luggage. It's not fancy, I'm pretty sure it's waterproof, and it's not really made for this bike, but I'm going to make it work. I actually bought this bag for my Beta, but never got around to using it, and it's supposed to clip onto the front mudguard. But with a little modification, it's going to fit onto the DS625X. There's not an awful lot of room to put it on the DS625X. Under the pillion seat, there's no space under there, so that's not an option. Removing the main seat shows there's not enough space under there either. I don't really want to cram it under there anyway, in case I do need to take the seat off to get to the battery. Also under the seat is access to the ECU, and if I do need to read some codes, which hopefully I don't, this is where I'm going to need to do it from. So I'd rather keep this area clean and clutter free. However, looking around the bike, there are a couple of options as to where I can mount this tool bag. And the one that's shouting out to me is under the front mudguard, hooked up to where the engine bars mount to the bike. Now the tool rail does have some built-in straps, and for a Temu purchase they do seem fairly sturdy, but to be honest I don't want to put my trust in just these two straps. So I hopped onto Amazon and I bought these short ratchet style straps, and as you can see here, these are simple to operate. You feed the strap through one side, pull it tight, and there's pretty much no chance it's going to come undone. Let's put this all together, get it on the bike, and see what it looks like. So here's the finished article. I do need to tidy up the straps a bit, or cut them to make them a bit shorter, because the XX length isn't needed. But if I'm honest, I'm pretty happy with how this looks. It's tucked up out the way, I've tested the steering lock to lock and it doesn't foul any of that, and looks wise, I do think it makes the bike look a little bit more adventure ready. That's about it for this video. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I hope you found it of some use. As always, thank you for watching. If you haven't done already and you like the videos, maybe consider liking and subscribing. And I'll see you next time for more prep and of course more Voge content.